to assisting in this, the various mechanical means, those who have attended to the audio and the video recordings of this discussion. And I also want to thank Mr. Vaughn for the hours of preparation and absolutely intense and thoroughly dedicated and sincere disciplined study in the Word of God. And I want to thank him for the love that he has for Jesus, our Savior. I want to thank him for taking this time with me this week so that we might better understand each other, even if we do not better understand the issues that divide us or that might serve to unite us. I also want to thank him for not introducing any additional affirmative statements, because I can simply say now that in response to his challenge for me to answer his arguments, I do not have to continue to answer arguments that I have shown to be based upon unreasonable or illogical premises or upon the incorrect exegesis of the sacred scriptures. Perhaps, however, the greatest denial of the proposition at hand this evening is the truth about truth. And the truth about truth is simply this, that truth is not mutually exclusive. Or stated another way, two things cannot be equally true that are contradictory in either definition, meaning, or result. With that in mind, referring again to the word only in Mr. Vaughn's proposition, only, we must conclude that this proposition, not the New Testament, we're not talking about the New Testament here, we're talking about Mr. Vaughn's proposition, cannot be true, because if it were true, it would force the New Testament to engage us in an even greater sin. Now that's my conclusion, but it's not mine alone. The negative arguments that we have heard this week about the use of the mechanical instrument in the worship of God have led us, or perhaps I should here quote, have led our folks to sit in judgment on brethren who do not understand or agree with their tedious syllogisms and finely drawn conclusions. The scriptural teaching about judging is so familiar that it hardly bears repeating, but perhaps the most frightening passage is from the lips of Jesus himself. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. Matthew 7, verse 2. Some anti-instrumentalists design intricate laws of interpretation in order to reject and condemn their brethren and try to deny them access to the grace of God. Can they possibly avoid being judged with equal severity? Would we not all be wiser to beat our breasts and plead like the publican of old, God, be merciful to me, a sinner? Judgment of brethren has always led to a second series of horrible sins, not esoteric sins, which are distilled from the silence of the Scriptures, but sins that are explicitly condemned in the New Testament. One such sin is the rejection of a brother for whom Christ died. The Bible is very specific. Christians are repeatedly ordered to accept one another, even if there are differences in faith and disputable matters. Romans 14:1. The Christian who does not accept his brother even jeopardizes his own acceptance by God. Romans 15:7. The desire to separate and divide is listed in the same context as fornication, debauchery, idolatry, and drunkenness in Galatians 5:19-21. While Satan may deceive sincere men and women into believing they are serving God when they divide up brethren using traditional arguments, such actions are no more pleasing to God than were the sincere efforts of Saul of Tarsus in persecuting the church. And the fact that these actions are traditional is no more protection than it was to the devout men in Mark 7. The argument that it is all right to separate from instrumental brethren because they are brothers in error or brethren in sin does not justify such actions. For what brother is not? Would such the judgmental brother himself claim to be perfect? There is no excuse for tearing the body of Christ apart, nor for maintaining such a rent. Again, those are my thoughts. That is my heart. The words are those words of Brother William, the non-instrumental preacher from Texas. Here's something else that he says that I agree with. And this will be very interesting, if anyone's counting points. There is no reason for the majority of churches of Christ to abandon their current worship practice. They may still decline to use pianos and organs. In fact, there are persuasive reasons to maintain their a cappella practice. I agree with that. There are persuasive reasons to maintain their a cappella practice. I also happen to believe that there are persuasive reasons to maintain our worship with the musical instruments. Last night, when I began my first speech, I believe it was, I referred to the occasion that brought us together as growing out of a long history of disagreements over an insignificant issue. I have reflected upon that and counseled with others. And it is my conclusion that that statement may very well have given offense to those in this audience who practice the worship of God without the use of the instrument. That was wrong. I hope you would understand that there was certainly no inference or implication that I or anyone like me who uses the instrument in worship considers any member of the non- or the anti-instrumental churches of Christ as insignificant. And if that gave offense to anyone, I simply ask you to forgive me. It is possible that when we quit trying to force people to sing like we do, when we set our own hearts in order, our example may accomplish what our browbeating could never have done. But in any case, we must resolve to learn to love fervently every immersed believer who is diligently trying to follow our Lord. And the joy of that fellowship will be so overwhelming that we will not be able to restrain ourselves from singing glory to God. Truth, to be true, cannot mutually exclude any other truth. The proposition, as I have in all honesty sought to understand it and to accept as he affirmed it according to his definition, must, in my best judgment, conflict with the truth of the Scriptures. Now, it may be that concerning the matter of the use of instrumental music, Brother Paul Vaughn may be correct in his position. God may have intended for us to sing without the use of instruments. And if this be the case, I will be answerable to God on the day of judgment for the position that I have held. He alone will judge me. But as we agreed before this debate, and according to the rule of the debate, Hedges Rule number 2, you, that is, Mr. Vaughn, must also afford to me the possibility that my position on the use of mechanical instruments in worship is or may be correct. And if this be the case, then you will be answerable to God on the day of judgment for your condemnation of others concerning this matter. I, therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, entreat you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling with which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, showing forbearance to one another in love, being diligent to preserve the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. For there is one body and one Spirit, just as you also were called in one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. But to each one of us grace was given, according to the measure of Christ's gift. Therefore it says, when he ascended on high, he led captive a host of captives, and gave gifts to men. Now this expression, he ascended, what does it mean except that he had also descended into the lower parts of the earth? He who descended is himself he who ascended far above all the heavens, that he might fill all things. And he gave some to be apostles, and some as prophets, and some as evangelists, some as pastors and teachers, for the equipping of the saints for the work of service, to the building up of the body of Christ, until we all attain to the unity of the faith, and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to a mature man, to the measure of the stature which belongs to the fullness of Christ. As a result, we will no longer be children, tossed here and there by waves, carried about by every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men, by craftiness and deceitful scheming, but speaking the truth in love. We are to grow up in all respects unto him who is the head, even Christ, from whom the whole body being fitted and held together by that which every joint supplies, according to the proper working of every individual part, causes the growth of the body for the building up of itself in love. This I say, therefore, and affirm together with the Lord, that you walk no longer after the Gentiles as they walk, in the futility of their mind, being darkened in their understanding, excluded from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them, because of the hardness of their hearts. And they, having become callous, have given themselves over to sensuality for the practice of every kind of impurity with greed. But you did not learn Christ in this way. If indeed you have heard him and have been taught in him, just as truth is in Jesus, that in reference to your former manner of life you lay aside the old self, which is being corrupted in accordance with the lusts of deceit, and that you be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and put on the new self, which, in the likeness of God, has been created in righteousness and holiness of the truth. Therefore, laying aside all falsehood, speak truth, each one of you, with his neighbor, for we are members of one another. Be angry, but yet be angry, and yet do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. Do not give the devil an opportunity. Let him who steals steal no longer. Let him labor, performing with his own hands what is good, in order that he may have something to share with him who has need. Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification, according to the need of the moment, that it may give grace to those who hear. And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, by whom you were sealed toward the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. And be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving each other, just as God in Christ has forgiven you. In the second chapter of Galatians, Paul says that he and Barnabas were given the right hand of fellowship, which incidentally was not a greeting. It was a compact. It was a covenant. For the very next phrase states that we might go to the Gentiles and they to the circumcision. Let's shake on it. One of the most common practices, age-old, if you care to. You can even find it in the Old Testament. But notice, when Cephas came to Antioch, I opposed him to his face because he stood condemned. Prior to the coming of certain men from James, he used to eat with the Gentiles, but when they came, he began to withdraw and hold himself aloof during the party of the circumcision. And the rest of the Jews joined him in hypocrisy. Dear people, Paul is saying that even as an apostle of Jesus Christ, there was a time when he stood condemned. Peter, as an apostle of Jesus Christ, while he was still preaching, there was a time when he practiced hypocrisy. But Paul at no time ever sought to exclude the apostle Peter in his condemnation and in his hypocrisy from his fellowship in the worship of God and in serving God as an apostle of Jesus Christ, and indeed, later, Pauline brother. An old man going along a lone highway came at the evening, cold and gray, to a chasm, vast, deep, and wide, through which there was flowing a sullen tide. But the old man crossed in twilight dim that sullen stream that had no fears for him. But he turned when he reached to the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. "Old man," said a fellow pilgrim near, "you're wasting strength in building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again must pass this way. You never crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build you the bridge at the eventide?" The builder lifted his old gray head. "Good friend, in the path I have come," he said, "there followeth after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm that has been naught to me, to that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I'm building the bridge for him." There will be many youths pass behind us in the wake of this discussion. Undoubtedly, many youths will view this film and read the book that it should come to be. I pray to God, in view of the lost world, in view of those people who need to believe in Jesus Christ as the way, the truth, and the life, who need to confess Him before men, those who need to be immersed in water for the forgiveness of their sins, I pray indeed that those who need to be faithful unto death, I pray indeed that those who need to worship God every day of their lives, who need to present their bodies as living sacrifices, who need to live in purity and holiness, that for the world of lost people out there, we might build bridges for them and so fulfill the law of Christ. Thank you very much.